When it comes to the idea of feeling judged or discriminated by other people, all of us, I'm sure, feel a sense of always needing to kind of check over our shoulder or walk with our eyes closed or maybe wide open, kind of like a deer would if they were on alert to a predator. And so I remember when I was still expressing myself and playing around with my appearance or my image, my femininity in some ways, I was back in Kerrisdale. I think I was living downtown already by this point. And if I wasn't, then I was almost downtown. I don't know how old I was. I think I might have been um, late teens, I'd say. Probably 18, 19, 17, maybe 17, 18. And anyway, so I remember I no, I must I you know no sorry, I must have been at least 18. I remember I was walking to the bus stop in Kerrisdale. So living up in Kerrisdale, you only had a couple options for your bus routes to go downtown. You had the 22 McDonald, and I lived at 36 on Larch. So like I would walk down the 33rd to Mackenzie to get the bus 22, or if I was going to go to Arbutus, I would walk from 36 to 37th in Arbutus and then take the bus downtown from there. So, anyways, walking around my old neighborhood and taking the bus downtown. I was wearing my sandals. It was summer, and my clothing was actually quite neutral at this point. So grays, blacks, nothing that you would look at and think flamer. And as I walked to the bus stop, there was a group of summer school students from Point Grey Mini or Point Grey, Maine. I don't know, but I'm assuming they were from Point Grey because they were right outside the school. And it was a mixed group of kids, male, female, um, Caucasian, non-Caucasian, black, Asian, just lots of different people, and probably about 5 or 6 of them, I would think. And so they seemed a little rough around the edges. They seemed a little bit kind of, we're in summer school, we don't want to be in school. And when I walked to the bus stop, I didn't think twice. I had my headphones in. I was just chilling out, and I remember the males in this group were kind of just chilling out, minding their own business. And then this girl was looking at me, and she said, and she didn't say anything because of course she could see I was plugged in. But meanwhile, in my mind, I'm running through all these scenarios, thinking, "Oh my God, do I have to run away right now? Do I have to scream and kick? Do I have to go on the phone and call the police? Like, do I have to do something to protect and to defend myself in case there may be any kind of bigotry or discrimination?" Um, People don't realize that when you are of a marginalization, or even if it might not visually appear to look like you might be different from society, um, people can pick up on the fact if you have something even remotely different about yourself. And whether if it's in admiration, if it's in pride, if it's in celebration, or the opposite, there's part of us as humans that are so wired into self-preservation and protection that sometimes catastrophize, or we can irrationalize, that's even a word. We can blow things out of proportion before we even have the assumption to know if that's actually even accurate. Is our reality our perception? Is our perception our reality? Right? So I was looking down at my sandals because she was looking down at my feet, and I was like, what is she looking at? And I had totally forgot that I had a pedicure with my mom. Thanks, mom, love you. And I had gotten my nails painted, and I played around with different nail polish. And I remember, like, when I was younger, this is kind of a cute story to reflect on. I was always going to the mall with my mom, usually Oak Ridge Mall, and there was a cosmetic store known as Red Earth. and it's no longer around. However, when she would go and buy her makeup there, I always loved going in because I would always want to get the samples, and I would always like play with like eyeshadows on my hand, or experiment with lipstick, or go to the nail polish and paint my nails and stuff like that. And I remember coming out totally like dolled up in makeup and polish and whatever. Lip gloss was my favorite as well. Even as a teenager, loved my lip gloss from MAC. Just little free samples, bubblegum pink. Holla. And I remember I just felt so happy expressing in that way at that point in my life, as young as age of 4 or 5. So naturally, when I used to go for pedicures with my mother, and I was still dressing more fashion forward and more stylista, I took care of my hands and feet more, and I didn't really get a lot of polish on my nails, but on my feet, I loved getting color. So coming back to this story with this girl at the bus stop, when she looked down at my feet, I realized that my toes were like a sparkling kind of like radium, I guess, kind of like electric blue color, like a deep blue color with a lot of sheen. And when she looked down, it's like the whole world around me slowed down, kind of like a super slow mo, where you're like, no. I was thinking, like, in this moment, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I know that I reflected in my previous story facing homophobia in Kerrisdale, let alone what that was like. So she looks down, gives me a once over, looks me up, looks me down again, and I'm following her eye contact, and I'm just kind of smiling at her. And all of a sudden, she takes a step back, looks at me, and she gives me 2 thumbs up and smiles at me and nods with approval. And that simple gesture of what this person shared with me in silence and just through body language was something that was really profound. To kind of look at rewriting my nervous system and realizing that not everybody out there, no matter what their gender, sex, whatever who they are, what they are, however they choose to identify, that not everybody out there is there to attack me for being different or expressive, and that therefore I'm not out there to get them either. We're just trying to live in a society, live in a lifestyle that works for us, and that doesn't compromise or conforms us to having to adapt in a certain way where it's too much to a point of feeling discriminated, a sense of bigotry or prejudice. And that's what life is about, in my opinion, when it comes to being your authentic self and your true identity. And in the concept and in the thematic quality of pride, coming out is not always, in fact, for the most part, it's not easy. I don't think that there are many people that could argue and say, like, coming out is a breeze, and that realizing that maybe even if there's a lot of people that are like you out there, once you find them, initially you may feel alone, and I definitely felt alone. I felt abandoned. I felt betrayed, probably by my own self, to be honest, not other people, but betrayed by myself, because I felt like, what did I do to encounter this part of me? Yet I loved myself to begin with. So that was what was even more bizarre. It's kind of like overcomplicating something that doesn't have to be super complicated, but yet it is a complex situation. And so this girl that gave me the thumbs up with my nail polish on my feet almost kind of just put me into a state of warmth, a state of acceptance, a state of being embraced for something that I forgot about, because it's not something that I normally would need to think about today. Even, like walking downtown with painted toes, who cares? Painted nails, who cares? Like, our society now in 2020, at least in Vancouver, and I'll leave it at that because that's my only scope. It's pretty narrow, I'll be honest. To be able to walk and to be whoever it is that I need to be to feel the way I want to feel on any given day, whether if it's wearing, an RYU or a Lululemon or whatever athletic brand tank top or shorts or socks and shoes, socks and sandals, like shoot me, right? I mean, there comes a certain point when we just become comfortable enough in ourselves that we stop caring about the worry about being judged or looked at by others in a way that diminishes who we truly are. And who we truly are doesn't really matter to other people, because as long as we feel the way that we want to feel inside, then that energy radiates on such a subtle level outward. And if it affects or triggers people, then in some ways we're doing our job. We're doing our job without even trying to do a job in the first place. We're just being real and being clear in our vision and our viewpoint. And I think that's really what being proud is all about, is the subtleties and the general state and way of being. And some of us shout it out and get it out, and it's just who we all organically are. Some of us are more silent and observant and just let our presence say and speak for itself without having to say or do much at all. And then some of us are out there being activists and speaking and bringing light to awareness and causes that are really, really, really important, and that are still important to this day. When it comes to being the way that we are meant to be, or the way that we were shown and brought into this society, in this vessel, in this body that we have, in this samskara, this life cycle. And I just want to say, if that girl is watching, I don't know what your name is, I don't know where you are, you might not even be in the city anymore. Thank you for that validation and that acceptance of me in a way that I didn't even realize that I was maybe being a little bit more expressive than the average male at that point in that time of my life.